you get to choose how you do your business. So for me, I choose simplicity. I choose to say, you know what? I only want to work 20 hours a week. I don't want to work more than that. And sometimes the answer is delegating to others, but sometimes it's just saying, do I really need to do X, Y, and Z? Like, is that really revenue generating, or is it just fluff or something I don't really need to do? And I'm doing it really only because I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Hello, Profit First entrepreneurs and thought leaders. I am so excited. We have a special guest today, and we're going to talk about one of the pain points that I always hear about, in this economy. What I'm hearing from my entrepreneurs is that it's so easy to get clients right now, right? There's so much need in this world, but they can't find the employees to do the work. And I'm really excited today because we have a special guest. Her name is Judy Weber, and Judy has a very interesting background. She is a women's business strategist and scaling expert. And don't worry, guys, even if you are not a woman, you're still going to get a whole lot from this conversation. And she owns a boutique consultancy firm that specializes really in helping multi-six-figure businesses scale their business and from multi-six to seven figures with simplicity. And she uses something called the joyful scaling method. And we're going to talk about that today. Judy, by background, is a former corporate and trial attorney, as well as a C-suite executive. And she's a genius at showing entrepreneurs how to uplevel their mindset, how to fully step into their CEO role, and how to strategically transform their current business model into a freedom-based legacy business. So please join me in welcoming Judy to our platform. Hey, Judy, how are you doing today?
Susanne, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. That's just like I mentioned to our guests, one of the biggest struggles that I hear with entrepreneurs is, they're killing it at sales. The smallest ones are $500,000. They go up to 30 million plus. And the problem is they're getting these sales, right? But they don't have anyone to do the work. And so, in this midst of this incredible blessing where, money is flowing in, contacts are coming in, their heart having a difficult time with fulfillment. So I'm excited about this topic today. Excited to talk about it. Before I begin, Judy, do you mind telling us a little bit about the joyful scaling method that you employ?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the things we're going to be talking about keeping business simple and really maintaining your business and scaling your business and doing fulfillment, right? With a focus on simplicity. And so when I thought about how have I been successful in business, it came down to these three things, and the acronym is JOY. First is Jumpstart. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll explain it further. First is Jumpstart. O is optimize. Y is yield. So this first pillar of Jumpstart is really, how can I jumpstart my business, which is counterintuitive because it requires you to slow down, think through with purpose and intention, with high-level critical thinking, mainly on two big areas, marketing and sales. And I can go into a whole lot of detail, but we really go deep on marketing strategy and sales strategy. And, a spoiler alert here, your marketing, when you do it right, should do a lot of the heavy lifting, making the sales part of it a heck of a lot easier. And that may surprise some people as they listen, but that's the J. So once we have our jumpstart and we have our strategies, that takes us to our second pillar, which is O for optimize. So here we're going to basically optimize all of our strategies, right? We're going to focus on three areas here: create workflows and processes. We're going to get the right team members in place. And that's something that you just talked about. It's hard to find good people, right? And then third, we're going to automate your business so it runs like clockwork. Lots of things I could say there, but it's all about taking what you have and really putting everything that you and your employees are doing to best work. And then the last pillar is yield. And here I'm talking about results. We're going to take a 30,000 foot view of what your business is yielding in the way of numbers, clients, cash flow, profit and loss, all of that. And I'm going to drop an interesting statistic here, Susanne. Okay. Did you know that 72% of six and multi-six figure business owners don't know their numbers? I mean, I know you know that as an accountant.
Yeah, I've met many of them.
So here in this yield part of my joyful scaling method, it's really important that you proactively look at various KPIs that we talk about and other important aspects of your business so that you can, again, intentionally and, in a streamlined fashion, accelerate your growth. For example, how to grow your business by 6-figure leaps or multi-6-figure leaps. You need a strategist to help you advise on how to acquire new clients for less, how to upsell, keep a client for years, how to lower your expenses to increase your profitability. And so I could go on and on and on, but the focus in everything I do is really about this idea of simplicity. We shouldn't worry about keeping up with the Joneses when we hear the world talk about hustle and grind. That is not what I'm about.
I love that. So let's talk about this in a world where, everybody has unique problems and complexity. And, one of the difficult thing I think as a scaling entrepreneurs embark upon is, when we grow a business around our specialty, right? We grow around, we're usually the best and brightest at what we do, whether you're a plumber or engineer, you're the best and brightest at what you're doing. And so there's almost like an artisan approach to our clients, right? There's a lot of pride in what we do. But as we scale, it's all, when we're fixing problems in unique fashions and no answer is the same way with client A to client B, it's hard to really train that skill to different employees, and in a labor shortage, you're actually facing it more. Let's talk about how simplicity can really help in terms of like building those profits, even in the midst of, a labor shortage and how we might be able to implement that, Judy.
Okay. Well, specifically about hiring good people and making the best use of your people, this idea of simplicity absolutely comes into play. And one thing that I find a lot of my clients struggle with, which frankly is kind of surprising because it's basic stuff that I think is too often overlooked, and that is processes. It's the boring stuff. The sexy stuff is the branding and the marketing. But the stuff that's going to be the bread and butter, especially during these more difficult times, as you mentioned, with difficulty in finding good labor, is how can I streamline everything that's going on in the back end and optimize my people? And so when we break down everything you're doing in the back end into a process that once we find those great people, they just like plug them in and play. I mean, that's huge because, to your point, there are issues that are going to come up in any business that will be the first time it's happened. Oh my goodness, this happened. It never happened before. Now what do I do? But if your business, if inside your business, you've taken the time to think through, what do we do on a normal basis? How do we operate? I mean, I'm talking about from A to Z, from the marketing processes that we have in place. One thing that immediately comes to mind is social posting, for example, or advertising, whatever that looks like for you. Do you have everything laid out as easily as you can? And one interesting thing that I just want to throw out here when we're talking about processes, the old way of doing processes was typing out the step-by-step. And that definitely works. But what we've done and what we find more and more of our clients are doing is you have a workflow, so to speak, but you also do a video on it so that as things change, it's just a heck of a lot easier, we found, to go ahead and, do a new video on this new aspect of the process rather than monkey with the written process, if that makes sense. And what I find is that the clients and the employees there with my clients, they really enjoy that. And it helps things to really solidify in their brains sooner.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, because to be able to see it, hear it, read it, right? Be able to, because you may be an audio learner, you may be a visual learner, you may learn just by doing it, right? But to have all three of those combined, it really makes it a no-brainer in order to make sure your employee is successful in learning this new process. Judy, what other ways are there to simplify our businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it's about being intentional when you're thinking about what you're doing and why. So I want to talk briefly about strategizing, because as a business owner at any stage, you've got to think strategically. And when I think strategy, I think I'm going to think critically, I'm going to decide powerfully, and I'm going to plan intentionally. So along these lines, when we're talking about, revenue versus profit, I have to think about, it's so funny. I did a masterclass the end of last year. One of my clients grossed $1.2 million and her profit was barely 300. And so she
That's
came
normal.
to me,
Yeah.
yeah. And she came to me and she said, I'm having too many offers. There's, sometimes it's hard for me to even explain and differentiate one thing from another. What can we do? We streamlined what she was doing in her offers. We did not only the most profitable, we broke it down from 10 to like 3 offers, but not only what was the most profitable, but the work that she most enjoyed doing. Because when we come to work and we love what we do, time goes a heck of a lot quicker. So again, when you think about, okay, I've generated 1.2 million, I got 300, I showed her a way that she could generate like half of that and almost pretty much net the same thing and work half the time in her business when she followed the process, the calendar, all that good stuff that we set up. So I would encourage your listeners to not accept out of hand this hustle and grind mentality. You do not have to do that. See, you get to choose how you do your business. So for me, I choose simplicity. I choose to say, you know what? I only want to work 20 hours a week. I don't want to work more than that. And sometimes the answer is delegating to others, but sometimes it's just saying, do I really need to do X, Y, and Z? Like, is that really revenue generating, or is it just fluff or something I don't really need to do? And I'm doing it really only because I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. So there are some ideas in that regard.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's Pareto Principle, right? That 80-20 rule, that 20% of your business is producing 80% of your bottom line, right? And if you just focus on that zone of genius where there is those margins, you'll naturally work less and earn more, right? Because you're functioning in that zone of genius. So that's really great advice there because, there's, the world will always want something special and something unique, but by focusing on what you're good at, that has the higher margins, right? That's a much wiser way in order to scale more profitably. So very good advice with that, Judy. What else? Tell us more about, optimizing those processes, focusing on what we want, and let's talk about it.
Okay, beautiful. I want to go back to the importance of strategy. And I want to give a real life example. And I'm happy to, you can tell me one of your other bigger problems that you're seeing in your clients, but in the way of saying, should I do this? And being strategic about it. What I see is I work with women, so I'll say women, too many women are overstating the importance of a marketing tactic, for example, posting on social, while grossly underestimating the strategy behind the tactic. And the strategy behind the tactic is what I call the why, the what, and the how. Okay, we shouldn't blindly, I love it, and actually that means I hate it, when a client comes to me and they go, well, I have to post on all these different channels, 3 times a day. And I smile and I say, why? Who told you that? Like, why do you think that? So let me tell you about the why, the what, and the how. When you're thinking about doing anything in your business, okay, you need to ask why. Like, why am I thinking about doing this? Whether it's that marketing tactic or whether it is writing a process out for that matter, like, why am I doing it? Does it make sense for me? Does it make sense for my brand, in my industry, all of that? That's the why. Then the what. Okay, once you've determined that there is good reason for you to do it, determine what the purpose is. Like, what's the goal? Like, what is the end game for this? What specifically do you hope to achieve? And ideally, that should be measurable, grow to X number of followers or get X number of leads, whatever it may be. So that's the why and the what. And finally, the how. Okay, I've decided there's a good reason for me to do this. Here's my goal. Now, how can I most effectively implement this tactic, process, whatever it is, step by step in order to get the biggest bang for my buck? So I think that now is the perfect time. We're at the beginning of a new year to look at everything you're doing in your business. Look at your team members and what they're doing in their business. Look at your sales process. Just like I say, jumpstart, take that slow down to look at what you're doing and say, you know what? Strategically, does this make sense? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that is so true. Guys, I'm going to share a personal experience that we had recently, with our firm. our heart is to help everyone, right? And to be able to be the accountant. But, just like every other industry out there, we are also, there's only 669,000 CPAs in the United States. Did you know that? 669,000. And I forget the statistic on how many small businesses, but I want to say like 3.2, million at least small businesses. So there's no way that every small business can have their own CPA. And, one of the things that always happens to us is, we get these clients that are prospects that come in through the door, and they bring their lovely shoe boxes, whether it's a virtual shoe box or a real shoe box, they bring their shoe boxes. And it's right in the middle of tax season where we have other clients that have, been with us all year, where we've been coaching them, where we've been doing their accounting and their finances. And, in the past, we always stop what we were doing, make sure we process them, help them set them up on their way. And, for our team, it was extremely stressful because one, you've got to stop what you're doing, help this person that think that their shoebox is normal, get organized, right? Whether it's putting it in QuickBooks or putting it in some type of accounting system. And, and they're coming to us, they've got negative cash, right? And I'm like, the bank didn't loan you $50,000 in your checking account, buddy. You need to reconcile that thing. Or your credit card doesn't owe you $100,000. You got to reconcile that too. And although it felt good to help these clients, get back on track, it was really pulling away from the clients that were with us, all year round, where we really knew their books, had a relationship with them, met with them monthly or met with them quarterly. And we made a decision this year that we couldn't do that anymore. We could not take the walk-ins anymore. We couldn't take the shoe boxes anymore. That, they had to be on a package where they're with us all year, because we wanted us to really treat the entire business, not just the bleeding business with the shoe box that needs to file by April 15th. And it was a huge, it was a scary thought, because, this is revenue that comes through the door. It was, a heart mission challenge because we wanted to help everyone. But in a day, it was burning out our team, right? It was burning out a team where we already have short supply, where there's a limited amount of CPAs out there. So by the way, be nice to your CPA if you got one that you like. And really just simplifying, choosing that choice to simplify and really invest our time in clients that really want to optimize their outcome and implement profit first and sound tax strategy, that want to have a relationship with their accountant versus a once a year check-in. And so, and as a result, we don't have to hire as many, our staff is experienced. The tax season is much more efficient because they know their clients, they've known them all year, and a much better, less stressful experience. So definitely I hear Judy when she says simplify, to multiply. And it's not necessarily about getting 100 employees or 50 employees and scaling that way, but scaling a business that is not only profitable, but also gives you sound peace of mind.
And, to your point, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope your listeners really take that to heart, because what I'm hearing is you are in demand. The way you do things, Susanne, puts you in demand, so that those walk-ins, they're going to be like, oh, but I heard great things about you. I want to work with you. And that demand allows you to not only simplify what you're doing, but ultimately make more money. You know how? Because now you can charge a premium rate. And these walk-ins are going to, a certain percentage are going to say, yes. Oh, I need the package. Oh, I didn't even know I needed that. So congrats on that. That's exactly what I'm talking about, being strategic and making hard decisions, setting those boundaries so that ultimately, you're setting yourself up, I think, to make more money and certainly have more time freedom and an easier way of actually conducting the business.
Oh, yeah. And I think you can help your clients on a deeper level, right? Because you know them, they know you, you're looking at their financials every month and they're making better decisions. So, they're not coming to you at the end of the year trying to figure out, what do I do to manage these taxes? They're getting that sound financial advisor. They're getting a friend, every single day. So it ends up being a better relationship overall from that.
Sure. It's a win-win-win all around. And your story there reminds me when I was practicing law, I was a trial attorney, and, family would come to me at the last minute And if they'd have an issue, like my brother was a landlord and he'd come to me at the last minute saying, "Hey, Judy, I've got this issue. Can you meet me in court tomorrow?" No. And where you been? Why didn't you come to tell me this? But because I know how important accounting is to a business, especially a business that is multi 6 figures, multi 7 figures. I mean, if anybody is listening out there and you really have a strong desire to make an impactful business and make great money, you need an accountant at any and every level. And especially a dedicated one that can walk you through and proactively and together strategically make decisions that are going to ultimately save you more money.
Yeah, definitely. Sound tax strategy definitely increases profits. And so, Judy, let's talk about that 3F model. I thought that was really interesting. We had a little brief conversation off air. Do you mind sharing with the audience about the 3F model?
Well, I mean, to me, the hallmarks of my business, they're not all F's, but the hallmarks of my business, and really for a business from the beginning, but in particular, this becomes more and more important when you scale, is these three hallmarks. First is faith. Faith. Now, I am a lover of the Lord Jesus Christ, so he is my everything. But whether you have faith in Christ or faith in something, you need to have what I call the belief triad. You need to have a belief and a faith in you, that you are awesome at what you do, that you're the best, that you serve your clients like nobody else does. Okay. That's the first part of the triad. The next is your very best clients. You need to have them. You need to have identified who they are. You're not a generalist. You don't want to work with everybody. You are in demand. You are the expert. So you need to make sure that you've identified your very best clients and proactively and unapologetically go after them. And again, that you believe that you can serve them to the uttermost. And then finally, in the belief triad, it's your offer or your service. You have to believe that what you do is so impactful, gets them such wonderful results that it makes selling your offer or talking about what you do not a chore, not scary, not manipulative. It's just very comfortable and conversational. So that all is a part of faith. And to me, faith is ginormous to me, it's the number one differentiator, the success metric to get to 7 figures and beyond. So that's faith. And then the second hallmark is strategy. We've talked about that all throughout, that you need to think critically. You need to decide powerfully. And on that point, did you know that the quality of your life and the success of your business right now today is a direct result of your past decisions? So now's a great time that if your life is out of balance because you're working too much or if you're not having quite the success you want in your business, look at those decisions you've been making and go back to the ways that I've talked about to make that strategy decision with the how, the what, and the why. And then the third hallmark of to me, scaling a business is, again, the simplicity, which we've talked about. Simplicity allows you to bring clarity and freedom, because why do we get into business in the first place? Of course, to serve, but time freedom and financial freedom. And so if we muck up everything we're doing and make it too complicated, too many offers, our messaging that's not clear, a customer journey that's not clearly laid out, we have no clear sales process, all of that, you're working harder than you need to be. So those are the 3 hallmarks: simplicity, strategy, and faith.
Oh yeah. And it's also harder to train your team when you're too complex, right? Simple strategy, simple offering, it's much easier to scale, and you'll probably keep your employees longer, right? If they can feel like they're doing a job that they can master with that. So very, very important. Now, Judy, as we wind down today, one of the things that we love to ask our guests is if you could leave us with one piece of advice. It can be personal, it can be business. What would that advice be?
Oh, I love this question. Okay. This is something that I'm really going in on. I've always been about this, but I'm going harder now. And that is pursue the impossible. Pursue the impossible in your life and in your business, because I feel like I've done that all my life. I mean, I'm a poor girl from Nowheresville, and I'm the first to go to college, first to go to law school, the first to, make 6 figures and, getting that 7-figure mark. I mean, if there is something that happened in your past, whether it's personal or whatever it is, don't allow anything to stand in your way. Because when we look at these people, we go, oh, how did she do it? She just did it. She believed, right? The belief triad. And then she pursued the impossible. And for me, I know that with Christ, nothing is impossible. So that's why I love to, go arm in arm with my clients and say, okay, what's that impossible dream that you have, that impossible goal? We're going after it.
I love it. The only goals, the way to accomplish a goal is really to set it, no matter how big or impossible it is. That's really, really great advice, Judy. Now, Judy, what is the best way for our audience to find you, contact you, work with you? How do we reach you?
Oh, I would love to interact with you. I love, meeting new people. The best place is probably on social media. I am at Judy Weber Co., Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all over. But I also want to offer your listeners a special something. I have a 20-page ultimate scaling guide, which is actually a mini workbook to walk you through 4 powerful strategies that my clients used for exponential growth in their business. So to get that for free, go to judyweber.co, judyweber.co.
I love that. So guys, get that free handbook, go to judyweber.co and get that scaling guide. Thank you, Judy, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom.
Oh, Susanne, thanks again for having me.
Until next time, guys, may the profits be with you.